Welcome to Audience First, a podcast for tech marketers looking to break out of the echo chamber, to better understand their buyers, what motivates them, and what they hate that vendors do. It's time to unmute your mic. Are you ready? Welcome back to another episode of Audience First. Today we have a very special guest in the house with us. We have the one and only Aleksandr Yampolskiy. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be with you.
Amazing. So before we kick it off, how about you tell us, who are you, what do you do, and why the hell do you do it?
So I'm a CEO and founder of SecurityScorecard. What we do is we figured out a way to measure and quantify cyber risk for any company in the world. And the reason we do it is because we want to have a new language of how companies, CISOs, boards communicate cyber risk. Because what you can't measure, you can't improve. So we really felt that it was really important to have a set of KPIs to pioneer how cybersecurity is done.
Why do you do what you do? Take me through the backstory, the motivation.
So I was a chief security officer at an e-commerce fashion company, Guild Group, many years ago, and I had all kinds of tools at my disposal. We invested into pen testing, we had vulnerability scanners, we did all kinds of SIM automation. So I thought I was doing a good job. And one day, our team signed a contract with a fraud detection vendor.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at a copy of their security assessment by one of the top big four firms. We met with the team. They sounded very smart, credible. And just as we started integrating with their systems and uploading our customer data, we discovered unencrypted credit card data belonging to other customers. And this was a big oh crap moment for me as a CISO because I realized I could lose my job due to circumstances outside of my control.
Yeah.
We're all interconnected to each other. We send our information to thousands of third parties, and we're completely in the dark. We have no idea if those companies are being diligent in terms of protecting the data. So that was really a wake-up call that I personally experienced, and I thought that there's got to be a better way to measure and quantify risk, which inspired me and my co-founder to start SecurityScorecard in 2014.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned just, a couple of minutes ago that we need to change the language. Let's go down that rabbit hole. Tell me why.
Well, look, you drive a car, you can look at a speedometer and see how fast you're driving. You go to a doctor, you're not feeling well, they might measure your blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And cybersecurity, you invest $10 million into the latest and greatest security tools. Nobody can tell you. Did you become 1% safer, 2% safer, 0% safer? Like, I'm a scientist. I did my PhD in cryptography at Yale.
Yeah.
So, I believe that best arguments should be based on numbers, KPIs.
Yeah.
You can just say, trust me, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, how do you prove that you're doing a fantastic job? How do you hold other companies you do business with accountable? I wanted to really disrupt the space. And when I started speaking to other people in the area in 2013 and asking them, how do you measure quantify risk when you do business with somebody? Most people told me one of three responses. The first response was, it can't be done. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. The second response was, we just use pen and paper questionnaires. We ask them, and then we rubber stamp it. And, the third approach sometimes was that they would use intrusive vulnerability scans, which are point in time, so they give you a snapshot in this particular time, but it doesn't guarantee what's going to happen tomorrow. But the fact that when I told to people in 2013 that there's got to be a way to measure and quantify risk, just like you have credit scores, there's got to be a way to measure, quantify security, and most people gave me a bit of a lukewarm reaction, actually was a great signal to me, because if your idea is obvious to too many people, usually it means you're too late to the game.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like an inspiration. I always want to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
When somebody tells me it can't be done, I want to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
So that really inspired me and said, I got to solve this problem.
Yeah.
I got to change how this whole industry operates.
It's very noble. It's a big task for you, and you've been really successful to date. By the way, side note, I was almost a bulldog, but I didn't meet the KPIs to get in. So there we go. I want to understand a little bit more on, like, how when you realized you viewed risk differently from everyone around you, what were the assumptions for you going in, and how did you kind of handle, those differing thoughts while you were trying to build SecurityScorecard?
So I do think actually the best ideas a lot of the time come from adjacent areas.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I always tell to people within the company, you want to have a beginner mindset. Just assume that you could be wrong.
Yep.
You have to have a low ego. You have to assume that you might be thinking about something the wrong way. And the best ideas often come from adjacent industries where you look at how something is done in a different industry and you say, can I apply it here?
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was thinking about this problem, I didn't know how I would solve it, but I learned about Dr. Virginia Apgar,
Mm-hmm.
who was a doctor who saved lives of tens of thousands of babies, because when kids were born, they would do all kinds of expensive and complicated tests. But it would just take too long to get the tests back, so children would die, the newborns would die. And she said, what if I come up with a simple 10-point score system? Is the baby crying when you pinch the baby?
Mm-hmm.
Is the baby pink in complexion, which means breathing properly? So she came up with a very, very simple score, but it was very easy to apply it. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. She went opposite the kind of what everybody thought and said, what if I approach it from a different scale? And I also thought to myself, you had all kinds of standards, NIST, ISO 27001 on cybersecurity, expensive security assessments, vulnerability scans. They were too long, too complicated to do.
Mm-hmm.
What could be a simple checklist where you could observe for any company in the world whether they're diligent or not? Like, you look at a company and you notice on the bottom of a website for the coffee shop, it says copyright 2005. It's 2025. It's not a vulnerability. You can't exploit it, but you know that they've not updated the site for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so this adjacency of Dr. Apgar's innovation inspired me and said, what can I do to simplify it? Why can't I come up with a scorecard? And so that was the dream in 2013. And what I did is I just started incubating it on the weekend and after hours, and I hired some consultants using my own money. And after about 3 months of doing it, I realized it really sucks to incubate stuff on your own because you're working 24/7.
Yeah.
You got a full-time job. I couldn't afford to quit my job. So I went to my former boss at Guild Group, Kevin Ryan, who started MongoDB, Business Insider,
Wow.
Zola, Guild. And he said, Alex, if you really wanted to be successful, you got to do it full-time.
Yeah.
I'm like, great. Doesn't sound like a very helpful advice. I can't quit my job. I have no money. How am I going to do it full-time? But at least it was kind of a nudge for me to start figuring out, where do I find investors?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't know any investors, but at least that was the cross points I was in at the end of 2013.
Yeah. So what was a change moment that made you skyrocket, or at least, find some traction to start scaling the growth?
So if I again rewind the clock back to 2013, I didn't know any investors.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Google and I put into Google a search term, investor entrepreneur meetup.
Yeah.
And I register for it. I show up, the 200 entrepreneurs looking for capital and 5 investors.
Wow.
And I think to myself, that's a rigged game.
Yeah.
It's like going to a bar and you have 500 guys and 2 women in a bar. Like, the odds are not in your favor.
Ay.
So I left and I just reached out to all the investors individually. And I thought it would be easy to raise capital. The first guy rejects me and says, it's too hard to build. You're never going to build it.
Yeah.
I go to the second person and incorporate in my deck, here's my roadmap. Here's how I'm going to build it. And the second person rejects me and says, you're never going to market it.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time I get rejected, I incorporate preemptively into my pitch how I'm going to solve the problem. And then we ended up raising $2 million from a fantastic set of investors, Evolution Equity and Boldstart. And we were able to quit our jobs, me and Sam, my business partner, and start going. But to answer the question about what was like the turning point for scale, look, nothing was like easy. It wasn't like one switch where all of a sudden that was like a big type of a thing. But what I would say, what I learned is you got to outfail your competitors. So you have to fail way more times than your competitors. A lot of people are afraid of failure because when you have like 10 ideas, you don't know what idea is going to work out, what idea is not going to work out. So you have to build a very quick experimentation loop where you try like 10 things, you're okay with failure, then it doesn't work, you try 11th thing, 11th thing works, and then you go double down on it. So we always follow this mantra from the very beginning to today where you have to just try things and then double down on things that worked.
Yeah. I'm going to shift gears a little bit because you mentioned something that really piqued my interest. This is what I do on a regular basis is feedback loops, talking to people, customer research. You know, in some of the materials that I read in preparing for our session today, you've been through hundreds of customer customer conversations. You've validated with them. Take me through what's the methodologies that's worked for you to become successful. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think you have to really deeply listen.
Yes.
And understand the pain point that the customer is having. There's a really good book, Secret Lives of Customers. I really like the book. And it talks about a fictional coffee shop where the profits are plummeting. They're not doing very well. And they hire this undercover detective to go and interview customers. And this person that they hired, he goes and asks the management team a question: why do you hire a cup of coffee? Like, you pay money for a cup of coffee, so you hire a cup of coffee for a particular job. What is that job? And a wrong way to think about it is, well, you hire in a cup of coffee just to quench your thirst. And then the way you compete, if you want to compete as a coffee shop, you invest into more varieties of coffee beans, sandwiches. They tried it in this fictional coffee shop and they kept failing. The revenues weren't growing. So then, as you dig a little bit deeper, it turns out that different people hire a cup of coffee for different reasons. You might want to meet a friend.
Yeah.
So you hire a cup of coffee because you need a place to sit.
Yeah.
Then you're competing not with a coffee shop, but with a restaurant or a bar or somewhere else. Or you might be waiting for your kids to come back home from soccer. Or you might be a student who's working on a dissertation. So you hire a cup of coffee for different things. So in life, the job to be done does not change. Like, for example, people had to travel distances. The job to be done is traveling somewhere. And you had horses, then you had cars. The job to be done is still the same, but the method became different.
Yeah.
Then you had planes and other stuff. So you have to really, I think you have to really deeply listen to how is the day in the life of customers and ask them a lot of questions. And then you have to ask questions in the right way, because I think everybody's trying to be nice to you. When I started talking to customers in 2013 and 2014, and I told them, hey, here's what I'm building. I'm building this methodology to quantify and measure risk. Spoke to like 20 people at the end of 2013, and they said, I love it. If you're going to build it, I'm going to buy. Guess how many of them bought it? Yeah, 0. When I spent 6 months.
Resonates so hard.
I spent 6 months from January to May building the technology. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Let me go talk to all the people who said I love it, I'm going to buy. Everybody ghosted me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what do I do now? I don't have any revenue. I don't have any customers. So you have to ask questions in a different way. You have to, for example, ask a question, well, how do you do the job right now? Like, you're doing third-party risk assessment.
Yeah, yeah.
And they might tell you, well, I send a questionnaire, right? It's free. Very dangerous competition. Status quo is the most dangerous competition in the world.
Yes.
That's the most dangerous competition. They're like, okay, what do you hate about sending questionnaires? Well, I don't like filling out responses. Well, so you have to really ask questions in a particular way and be like a very good listener. I think that's one. And the second thing that helped us is I think we were kind of clueless about what it takes to scale a startup, which was amazing, because if you know too much, you can start talking yourself out of things, ideas. So like just approaching it and jumping it all in without knowing the answers and saying, you know what, it sucks, but I'm going to just figure it out.
Curiosity.
And having this curiosity, beginner's mindset, I think it really served us really well.
Oh, that's music to my ears. And I want to kind of highlight listening is huge. We don't sometimes listen enough. We have to.
And the important part is, as my coach tells me, you don't use your 2 ears. The most important ear is your third ear.
Mm-hmm.
2 ears to hear what's being said, but the third ear to observe what's not being said.
Love that.
That's the most important thing you wanna pay attention to.
So powerful. So powerful. So if you could kind of force, or not force, but kind of like, pigeonhole CEOs and boards to understand one comfortable truth about third-party risk management, supply chain security, what would it be?
Well, I think a lot of people underestimate how interconnected we are.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people don't realize how interconnected we are and how fragile the ecosystem that we operate in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge concentrated risk. The products that we use digitally in the world, 90% of a global attack surface is made by 150 companies. So it's very few companies. We've seen a situation where, for example, CrowdStrike had an outage. All of a sudden, you had airplanes that couldn't take off because the systems weren't working. We've had AWS outage, and all of a sudden, Snapchat did not work. Again, you couldn't load some. I mean, you couldn't log into certain type of payment systems like Venmo. My son's exam got canceled. He was supposed to have a history exam in high school, and they canceled it because the system didn't work. So I think people don't always know how interconnected and how fragile everything is. And interestingly, these days, attackers understand it really well because they no longer go target the company directly. They go look for a third-party supplier or a software product that they use. They break into it, and then they use it as a jumping pod to get into thousands of companies.
Mm-hmm. So, several founders, many that I know, and, myself included, we have a second mountain. So, like, what's the moment you realize SecurityScorecard had to evolve beyond ratings into real-time detection, assurance, remediation?
So you always have to evolve because what got you here won't get you there. We had a great realization in the beginning of last year when we started talking to our customers and asking them, like, why are you not scaling your third-party risk program further? We gave you great technology, like, why are you not reaching out to your suppliers more? And we realized that a lot of the time, companies just don't know how to talk to their third parties. They do a fairly good job discovering the list of their third parties and fourth parties. They do a fairly good job using technologies like SecurityScorecard and others, categorizing the risk within their supply chain. Here's your supplier 1, here's your supplier 10,000. And after they did all this categorization work and triaging the risk, now what?
Yeah.
How do I talk to you? Let's say you're my business partner and you're not doing a good job. Do I just send you a 40-page report and say, can you go fix it? Or how do I engage with you? How do I collaborate with you? So that was a really interesting realization to us that we need to expand from ratings to solutions, where rating measures how secure you are, but with a solution like Max for supply chain detection and response, I can come to you and say, okay, you use security ratings to quantify risk. What if I now help you run your entire third-party ecosystem?
I was reading through some of the materials, and you framed unlocking, quote unquote, superhuman perception, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna double click into that. Okay, so, and coordinated defenses too. So, what kind of personal experiences shaped that kind of phrasing? Like, can we really unlock superhuman perception? And it's just really interesting to me.
Well, absolutely, I think so. So, if you think about just different evolution of cybersecurity. So if you rewind the clock to, let's say, 20 years ago, a lot of the technologies we've had were very reactive.
Yeah.
Wait until you're being attacked, then you respond. Like endpoint security, intrusion detection systems, you're basically constantly on the defensive. And the companies would surround the data center, like the castle, with an impenetrable moat and put as many defenses as possible. Fast forward a little bit later, let's say to late 1990s, when more and more companies went to the cloud. Your data no longer was in a single data center. Now your data is everywhere. You share your information with your lawyer, your accountant. You might upload files to Dropbox. The attack surface became much more complicated, and the attackers got much more sophisticated cyber weapons to go attack companies at scale. So the next thing that defenders focused on is, how do we get more data? So you went from reactive to still reactive, but with more data.
Mm-hmm.
We need telemetry when we have insider threat. We need telemetry about attacks somebody is perpetrating against us. Going into just a few years from today, now we're drowning in too much data. We can't find a needle in a haystack.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of CISOs and CIOs invested into hundreds of security tools. All these tools don't talk to each other. People don't utilize them. You don't know what to do with them. And fast forward into today, now you have advent of LLMs and agentic AI, and they're being adopted by attackers much faster.
Yeah.
You can now have deepfake videos where they take my video or your video and it looks like you or me. You have tools like Hackstrike. It's a AI cybersecurity offensive tool where you can just type in a common language. Can you craft for me an exploit to go attack any company that's running Palo Alto networks, for example, or an F5 load balancer? And it's gonna, all you need to do is just type a prompt.
Yeah.
So the bar of sophistication for creating sophisticated exploits dropped. You have a thriving dark web market where you can just hire somebody. For example, for $100 a day, you can launch a sophisticated denial of service attack against your competitor. And we can't keep up.
Yeah.
There's not enough human capital. So what defenders are doing right now, and that's the evolution we're going after. So number one, we are going to have robots fighting robots. You're going to have AI fighting AI. That's where the superhuman perception comes in. You're going to have to automate 99% of situations and only escalate 1%.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of consolidation of multiple tools and multiple companies being bought, consolidated under a single platform. And I think the other important need becomes the usage of KPIs, because people know that they invested a lot of money. Technologies are not working, so now people are trying to do more with less, and in order to do it, you need to quantify.
So how do you create order from all that chaos? You kind of broke it down a little bit, but I want to go in a little bit deeper. How does SecurityScorecard specifically do that? And then a second part to that question, which we can attack just right after, is like, what does that look like intrinsically for the security practitioner and also extrinsically for the business?
So we collect billions of signals, but also we have an ability to define advanced automation rules.
Yeah.
Kind of the expression we use internally, set it and forget it. You set a rule, you set a policy. For example, hey, if one of my partners ever drops below C, go trigger this type of a triage. If I ever see ransomware or malware within the infrastructure of a company I work with, go reach out to them. But now, in addition to this workflow system, I think you need to fight the hackers. Hackers collaborate with each other.
Yeah.
They actively share exploits with one another. We need to start having defenders do collective security. And so what we allow companies to do is to pull off collective security. We allow companies to share threats, to share information, to collaborate. If you work for JP Morgan and I work for Wells Fargo and we have a trust relationship with each other, why can't we exchange information about a particular supplier that we're looking at?
Right. So I want to kind of go down this rabbit hole and talk about, AI, LLMs, and how hackers are using that to become a lot more sophisticated than, unfortunately, some of us. How does, I want to understand how we strengthen the security practitioner's perception and also capabilities, especially in the world of AI, which, in my opinion, makes people lazy. That's a big statement. I think some people, might disagree with me, but I think it makes people lazy. Go.
I think you're right. Look, it's the same analogy. Having a car, an ability to press a gas pedal makes you lazy instead of, you would be a lot more fit if you rode a bicycle everywhere. It's true. And also, a lot of people don't know how to fix the car. I don't.
Yeah.
So I think AI is powerful. But I do think it also has a downside just in general, not just for cybersecurity, but for anything where people are going to just take a lot for granted. They're not going to apply critical thinking. For example, like, I don't know, I have 2 teenagers. Are they able to write in cursive versus just typing on a computer? Like,
Yeah.
can they write help if they have to on an index card and put it up without a computer? I don't know, maybe not. So I think the same with AI, right? Like, I think the danger, look, you have a lot of advantages, productivity advantages. It can sift through millions of signals and do very interesting stuff, but you also have a lot of hallucinations, and a lot of people assume that the stuff is correct. And so I think there's going to have to be a lot of AI security, governance, and other type of stuff that has to be put in place. Human in the loop.
Yeah.
I think those are actually very interesting times. And I do think that actually from a cybersecurity perspective, a lot of the boards and a lot of the CEOs I speak to, they're just adopting AI because they want to look cool to the Wall Street.
Yeah.
But then the CISOs, the CISOs are trying to pick up the pieces. And you also have a lot of shadow AI.
Okay.
And a shadow AI is, you an employee of a company, you might be working on a finance team. Nobody authorized you, but you took the P&L, you uploaded it to ChatGPT to do some information because it saved you time.
Oh my God.
Looks good to you, but now maybe your sensitive data is out there.
Well, so then paint the picture of what the first major AI-enabled supply chain breach looks like.
Well, I think we're probably already there.
Yeah.
I think from AI supply chain breaches, first of all, you can find vulnerabilities in code much faster.
Sure.
You can trick people into thinking that something is secure when it's not. A simple vulnerability is you use AI to find you find a big vulnerability in a commonly used package or library, like a library used by developers. You tell AI, hey, can you insert this backdoor, but make it hard for people to find? So you write the code in a way where people can't immediately tell that it's a backdoor. You obfuscate it, you commit it, people accept it into a public open source project where everybody uses it. And then you got thousands of companies checking out that code base, and they don't even know you got a backdoor. And it's a real issue. By the way, it's a very real issue today. I just spoke about the topic. 80% of the merchandise, 80% of the cranes unloading the merchandise in US ports, so that's trillions of dollars of commerce, are made in China. And the software in those cranes is also made in China. And we're talking about millions and millions of lines of code. Can you really know and guarantee that there's no backdoor where at the right time somebody hits a button and disables all the machinery?
Oh my God. That sounds horrific. Horrific to me. So, I mean, kind of springboarding off of that scary scenario, what's required to become the new breed of security practitioner today?
I think a new breed of a security practitioner today, first of all, you have to be able to speak both a business language and a technical language. A lot of the time, security practitioners, they speak in a geek language. I just deployed Akamai Prolexic for DDoS mitigation to limit the SYN flood attack on 24.1.02/24 network, and we're good. And if you're my board member, you look at me and you have no idea what I just said. Versus if I tell you, I spent $200K to limit a potential of an outage that could cost us millions of dollars. So I think it's on us as security practitioners to be able to explain things and communicate the same thing to multiple audiences. We need to build coalitions and relationships across entire organization.
Ding, ding, ding.
And I think a new cybersecurity practitioner is going to have to be very, very AI literate if he or she wants to stay relevant. Because I think because AI, like you said, is going to make a lot of people lazy, I do think it's going to make it harder for entry-level jobs.
Wow.
It's going to be a lot harder for many people to get entry-level jobs. But then I think you're also going to have the onus increased on CIOs and CISOs to stay relevant.
So, I mean, Alex, tell me, how do you stay optimistic in a field where the stakes are existential? I mean, we talked about some scary scenarios today, but how do you do that?
Um, well, I'm a pretty pessimistic guy by nature in everything, but you gotta just hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Right.
So look. I think you have a lot of smart people innovating and who really care. Investors, public sector officials, private companies. What makes me very optimistic is I think in the past couple of years, like in the past 5 years, the collaboration between the government, the private sector, the academia has been better than ever before. I think everybody realizes the importance of collaboration
Yeah.
and people are coming together. Before, you didn't have as much cross pollination between public, private sector, and academia.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
But now people are really coming together. So that
Right.
makes me very optimistic.
Yeah.
I think that cyber became a boardroom topic. And the fact that it's a boardroom topic makes it more important by itself.
Yeah.
Because when a CEO asks about it, the CISO is going to have attention and resources that they need.
Right.
I just think that it's going to be a perennial cat and mouse game. I don't think it's ever going to change because the bad guys are making too much money. We're talking about trillions of dollars in cybercrime.
Right.
So even if we invent one way to keep them away, they're going to look for other ways to get in. It's never going to stop. But I think actually it's fascinating because it drives the pace of technology. And look, I think this moral principle of doing things not just because of ambition or money, but just because you want to make the world a safer place, that's very important for me.
Yeah.
Like it's very easy to get focused on building a business, but you forget that, for example, our technology is used to protect hospitals.
Mhm.
We give it away for free to many nonprofits who are doing humanitarian work
That's great.
in the world. We're used by vaccine manufacturers. We're used by educational systems and universities who are educating the kids. So it really gets you out of bed every day when you realize the mission and the work that you do protects so many people around the world.
I love that. That really resonates with me. It's why I got into security. You know, I'm not a practitioner per se. I'm on the GTM side, but you know, I want to be able to promote the right products to the right people. Quickly, you know, before we get into a really cool segment, which I didn't share with you because it's a surprise, what do you think vendors consistently get wrong about how CISOs make decisions?
I think cybersecurity is a trust business.
Mm-hmm.
You need to build a relationship with a CISO. That's number one. They need to trust you, that you're going to do what you're going to say. So I think a lot of the time vendors underestimate the importance of case studies and word of mouth. That's one. And the other thing they underestimate is that it's about the capabilities and features of your tool.
Yeah.
Like you can get the best tool in the world, but it's not about the tool. It's about the playbook. It's about the training. It's about the human capital. It's about how the tool is going to be used in a business context. So the job of a CISO is a business enabler. It's not just to stop the bad guys, but it's also to be a business enabler. So I think people need to really think about this transformation. Look, if you think about, Apple, they did not talk about the fact that you have an iPod and how many entry points it has for the headphones and how many gigabytes of music it can store and so on. They talked about the feeling.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs always talked about the feeling. How are you going to feel when you listen to music? You're part of a movement. And I think in cybersecurity, a lot of companies miss that. They're like obsessed on features and like, hey, my AI technology is going to stop 99.99% of the threats and here are the standards it complies with, but they're missing the point of human connection, about the mission, about like, what are you trying to make possible? So like a really good quote that I love from our company advisor, Mike Schrage at SecurityScorecard, is he has a really good expression. He says, who do you want your customers to become? And how are you going to transform your customers into better customers? So he says Facebook innovation, for example, was not the fact that they created a social media platform. Their innovation is that they turned introverts into people who like to overshare information for social likes. Google innovation was not that it built the best page rank algorithm and a better search engine, but they transformed us into everyday searchers,
Mhm.
people who are going to type a ill-defined query into Google and trust the results.
Yeah.
Right? So how are we going to transform our customers into better customers? So with this topic that we talked about, supply chain detection, response, and ratings, we want to transform our customers from passive report generators who send out vendor reports, put a rubber stamp of approval for compliance purposes, and then pretend like you became more secure even though compliance doesn't equal security. We want to transform our customers from passive report generators to proactive incident responders, to people who use SecurityScorecard KPIs as a new language
Yeah.
to communicate to the CFO, to the board, to your suppliers. We want to change how the industry operates.
I love it. I love it. This is beautiful. I mean, amen. I'm in the middle of your talk there. I literally raised my hands up in the air because beautiful. So we're going to shift to a segment called the hot seat. It's kind of a quick fire challenge. One-liners. I'm going to ask you a question real quick. You answer it. Kind of get to wrap this up in 5 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's go. Okay. What's Security Scorecard's dirty little secret, something buyers never ask but should know?
Wow. I was not prepared for this question.
And I intentionally never prepare my guests for this because we're curious. We're going to use our brains. We're going to think about it and get the raw answer.
You know, a lot of the time, actually, buyers don't recognize that we collect all the data ourselves. We made a decision from the beginning of a company to collect all the signals ourselves. And it cost us a lot of money to build this infrastructure, but we really wanted to stand from integrity perspective about the data that goes into ratings. And so it costs a lot more. It's much harder than what a lot of competitors do from a shortcut. But the fact that we spend so much time really obsessing over the data and the collection infrastructure, I think a lot of people don't really know until they dig much deeper.
You talked a lot about, failing a lot, failing fast. What's a lesson you learned the hard way that others could learn from?
Well, hiring decisions are always the most painful.
Mhm.
You do all the homework, you do reference checks, the candidate sounds amazing, you do additional exercises, and you hire a person and they fail. That's always really painful. And I think in the past couple of years, I really learned to trust my gut more.
Mm-hmm.
We used an executive coach to help us vet some of the candidates very rigorously. And every time I was on a fence and I was a maybe, and the person said, go hire this person. And we went and hired the person, never worked out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I learned to trust my gut judgment a lot more. And it's always like scary because you can screw up and make a mistake. And as a CEO, you have a lonely job. Everybody tells you different things, different ideas. But I think I learned to trust my gut much more.
I'm with you on that. I've doubled down on 2 gut decisions, which have been very profitable, which is great.
Simple. You move to a different city.
Yeah.
Everybody tells you it's a great decision. Your partner, your mom, you got a fantastic job, and that you got this nagging feeling that something is off.
Yeah.
Like I really learned to tune into this like tiny faint signals. Like this gut stuff usually starts like a very faint signal that you can't hear, and zone in on it and like amplify it. Perfect. I like really hone in on this faint gut feels that a lot of the time, like 99% of the time, I would just swipe under the rug and say, yeah, it's nothing. I really like hone in on this now.
What makes Security Scorecard different from the competition?
Well, it's my better looks, of course. But look, we are, customer obsession is one of our company values.
Woo.
And it's easy to say it because if you look at a company values and say, here are my company values, integrity, authenticity, I think those were Enron values. And that was the biggest corporate scandal. So what you put on a wall doesn't really matter. What matters is what do you do in tough decisions, right? And so customer obsession, we promote based on it. We fire people based on that. Like if a customer calls you and says, I got an issue, are you going to drop your entire roadmap and just go fix it, right? Like that's what really matters.
Yeah.
So the fact that, customer obsession, and also look, we got 4 S's of differentiation. We source our own data. We got scale. We rate every company in the world. That's scale. The speed. If a company wants to submit additional evidence, we can reflect it in their scorecard within seconds. So those 4 S's, the scale, the speed, the sourcing of our own data, and the max solution are big differentiators from competition in the market.
Describe Security Scorecard in 3 words. You can use 4. I mean, you mentioned 4 on values, but you're going to love this one. Let's see if he passes.
Supercharge supply chain effectively.
Boom. Okay. My favorite question. If your product or if Security Scorecard were a superhero, who would it be?
I love it. I do like Superman quite a lot. I love the ability to very quickly teleport and transport from one area to another. I think this notion of speed
Yeah.
is very fundamental to me because the whole value of what we do is to give you a very, very quick litmus test to find out where to prioritize scarce resources.
Mm-hmm.
People just don't have enough hours in a day. They want to be on the beach. They want to spend time with their loved ones. They don't have time to spend hours and hours looking at millions of vulnerabilities. So we give you this speed to make safe, smart, confident decisions. So I really would associate it with Superman.
I love it. I don't think we've had Superman on the show yet. So we've had, somebody said Batman, Deadpool, we've had Spider-Man. Superman is part of there. So I'm interested to see in the future who else will show up. So what's the future of cybersecurity moving forward after 2025 into 26? The big question.
Yeah, look, I think for the entire industry, so let's take a look at the defenders and attackers for the cyber industry. For the defenders, I think you're going to see a lot more consolidation. I think there's a lot of point solutions, and customers don't want point solutions. They want to buy from platforms and best of breed. I think supply chain risk is going to continue to be a huge issue.
Yeah.
We already talked about AI, but I think AI security is an unsolved problem.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you have different categories of cyber tools and network security, application security, data leakage prevention, you're going to have the same categories for AI. And for the attackers, expect to see a lot more sophisticated deepfakes.
Mm-hmm.
Expect to see a lot more supply chain attacks. And I actually, it's a bit of a provocative viewpoint, but I do think the quantum security migration will be a much bigger problem, much faster than people anticipate. A lot of people swipe it under the rug, don't talk about it, but it's only a matter of time before you really have quantum computers who are capable to easily factor, which means RSA is no longer secure if you can find out the factors. All the quantum proof algorithms already exist, but you're going to have like a Y2K moment to find out when my infrastructure I use quantum safe encryption, non-quantum safe encryption. So I think it's going to be a much bigger problem sooner than we think.
I love it. This has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. You're always welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
We hope to see you in other programs that we have running. But is there anything else you want to impart on the audience today?
I think we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we did. We covered a lot. This was awesome. I was pleasantly surprised by some of your answers. You were sharp on your feet for that quickfire challenge, so thank you for that.
I was not prepared for it.
That's the best way to go into things sometimes, right? Gut feeling.
My counter 2 questions to you. I have 2 questions. One.
In the hot seat.
So one, I'll put you back in a hot seat. So one, you lived in many cities.
I did.
In Israel, in Los Angeles, in Dallas, Texas. You've been in New York. What's your favorite city and why? That's my first question.
Oh, man. I mean, it's bittersweet. My favorite city out of all of them is Tel Aviv. It's vibrant. It's complex. It's tasty. I love the chutzpah, if you will, the sassiness of the community there. But in terms of people, beauty, and food, it hits on all marks. Won't lie, it's hard to live there. But that's why it's bittersweet. It's never easy in life, right? You make what you will of it. But I'm loving Dallas. Dallas is awesome. It's been a good change for me personally.
And the last question is, you're doing a great job interviewing people in cybersecurity. Yeah. What do you dislike the most about cybersecurity industry, and what do you like the most?
I'm going to start with the positive. You know what? I'll start with the dislike first and then end on a positive note. What I dislike is sometimes the ego with people, the sit down, the smart people are talking syndrome. I believe in the fact that if you are curious and want to learn and you want to help, you will succeed. We don't all have the answers. So if somebody's trying to learn, let them have that opportunity to speak. I also do not like, just one more thing, I do not like the pushiness on vendors with buyers and the lack of understanding and the lack of empathy. What I love about the industry is the mission, the servant leader mindset, I want to help protect people, I want to help protect the world. And most importantly, I want to build relationships, right? I love that about this industry. I don't see myself, working in any other industry. I don't see this as work. To me, this is passion.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, I love it. Well, that's a beautiful note to end with. So
thank you.
Alex, again, thank you for coming. And I'm eager for our next session with you. So thanks again.
Look forward to it.
All right. This has been another episode of Audience First. We are out.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Audience First. If you like what you've heard, feel free to follow or subscribe to Audience First on Apple, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast streamers.